Good evening and welcome back to our March 12th, 2019 Board of County Commissioners meeting for Pinellas County. And we will start with agenda item 33.
Agenda items 33 through 35 are proposed amendments to the countywide plan map. The public hearings were properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matters are properly before the authority to be heard.
Okay. So agenda item 33, we have Mr. Mastery here to speak in favor of, but I will open up the public hearing and see if there is anyone else who wishes to speak on this agenda item.
She needs to swear people in.
I'm sorry?
This is legislative, not for this one.
No, I don't have to
Okay.
swear. I was
Okay.
just saying
For the
a
next one.
description of the item.
Oh, okay, yeah, she needs.
Each item.
Yeah.
So
Barry
Do
has
you want
it.
me to say anything about the particular item? Is what she was asking. We
That's
weren't
fine.
getting our signals crossed.
sounds good.
Well, so item 33 is a map amendment from recreational open space to low-medium residential. This is on 4.1 acres. The proposed amendment would address a portion of existing fairways in St. Petersburg Country Golf Club and convert these to single-family homes.
Okay. So again, I have no other cards other than Mr. Mastery. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
I would move approval, and I do have a comment.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Welch.
Second, I have a question.
And second by Commissioner Gerard. Commissioner Welch.
I'll just say there is hope. This is an example of an applicant, a golf course, working with the community to come to a resolution that works for both sides. A few years back, there was a proposal to build townhouses along the southern end of Boyd Hill. That was not received very well. And so they went back to the drawing board, and this is a great compromise. It's going to preserve the country club, the golf club, but also the neighborhood is very supportive of it as well. So, good example.
A win-win then.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Then we'll get the voting cards, please.
Too bad that's not par for the course.
You didn't say that on the mic.
Okay, it's a unanimous vote. Moving on to agenda item 34.
This is a residential low-medium to and retail services to retail and services. This is 2.45 acres. It's part of a larger site, which is a CarMax automobile dealership.
And we just have one card in favor of it from Mr. Armstrong. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to comment on this agenda item and give their input? Okay, then I'll close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers, and I think a second by Commissioner Peters. Okay. Okay, here's the voting poll. Passes unanimously. Okay, agenda item 35.
Agenda item 35 is an amendment from resort recreational open space and no designation to resort. This is 4.6 acres. Sitting as a planning authority, you're to conduct a public hearing, and they're asking to defer action for this case until the April 9th, 2019, to allow the city of Largo to take official action on an alternative compromise amendment to the resort category for 1.2 acres of the property.
Again, this is open for a public hearing at this point. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on this? Okay, then I'll close the public hearing and recommend deferring action to April 9th, 2019.
Move deferral.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Eggers, second by
Commissioner Welch.
Commissioner Welch. Thank you. Voting cards, yep, there we go. Thanks. All right, unanimous approval to defer action. Agenda item 36.
Agenda item 36 is proposed resolution authorizing amendments to the Learman Community Redevelopment Area Plan. The public hearing was properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay. I have no cards on this item. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on agenda item 36? Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Justice, second by Commissioner Gerard. Okay, unanimous approval. Very good. Agenda item 37.
Item 37 is a quasi-judicial hearing. All of those wishing to give testimony in case number Z020219, please stand and take the oath. You swear to tell the truth in the testimony you're about to give, signify by saying I do. Thank you. Case number Z020219, application of John Roberts for a zoning change from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Retail Commercial and Limited Services. The public hearing was properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
I only have a card from Mr. Pressman. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to comment on this agenda item number 37? I'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions by the county commission?
Move approval.
Motion
Second.
by Commissioner Gerard, second by Commissioner Welch. Okay, approved unanimously. All right, we're on to agenda item 38.
Item 38 is case number Z030219, a quasi-judicial hearing. All those wishing to give testimony, please stand and take the oath. You swear to tell the truth in the testimony you're about to give, signify by saying I do. Thank you. This is application of Pinellas Affordable Living Incorporated for a zoning change from R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential to RM, multifamily residential. The public hearing was properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
I move to approve.
Pardon me?
I'd move to approve. Second. I have a question.
Well,
Way ahead of you,
we
sorry.
have to ask if
Yeah.
there's any public input first and conduct a public hearing. It looks like it's a great project,
It is.
but Jack Humberg is the only one who did sign up to speak. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, then the public hearing is closed. We have a motion by Commissioner Peters, a second by Commissioner Gerard, and I think she has a comment.
I just have a question. Is this the same area where Habitat is going to be building on those next 2 blocks? Okay.
Hi, good evening. Michael Schoderbach, Pinellas County Planning Department. It is in a similar area. You can see on the overhead, this is the subject property being heard tonight. These blocks here that are in orange and over here were the ones that were heard by for the Habitat for Humanity
Right,
project.
okay.
So show me where the Habitat ones are again.
It's
The next couple
these
of
2
blocks.
blocks,
Okay.
and this third one here, and an end, this whole block here, and then a portion of this one here, so the
Okay.
orange color. So.
So basically, the whole 3 blocks going west.
Yes,
Right.
3 blocks going west, and then a portion of in between. They didn't acquire these properties, had current mobile home sites on them.
But they do have an option on them.
They have an option on that, but yes,
Okay.
they haven't executed it.
And what's the other direction? Is that,
It's,
Commercial.
this, it fronts 66th Street North. This is a shopping plaza in here.
okay, thank you.
Carmelitas.
Yeah.
Good Mexican if you're interested.
Can I ask a question while we're there? You had an overhead slide?
Aerial?
Yeah. Just along 62nd,
Yeah.
well, more like that's it. Along 62nd there, what's going to happen there in terms of pedestrian, bike, sidewalks? Where does that come into the discussion?
During site plan review, we do require sidewalks along all frontages. There's existing sidewalk here. They would have to pick up and continue the sidewalk along.
From 66 westbound, are sidewalks already there right where your finger is?
I don't think there's a
Yeah, I
sidewalk
don't think
there.
it's a sidewalk. They only have to put it in front of their property.
Right.
So that's where,
And
So in
Habitat would have
terms
to put it
of-
in front of theirs.
Holistic planning and,
There's one on the south side.
what's the word I'm looking for? Complete streets?
yes.
So what are we going to do to connect folks between 66 and where the new development's going in with the sidewalks?
It looks like there is pedestrian way there. It's just this whole side is an open driveway. So it's not really designated driveways for the
It's
shopping
a
plaza.
tiny little gas station there.
So it's hard to distinguish what's a driveway and what's a designated sidewalk on that area.
Looks like a 7-Eleven with a gas
Okay.
station on the side.
But they're only required
The
to
developer?
do just along their property line.
Okay.
I have a question in general. Don't we have a plan for 62nd Avenue sidewalks, or is that on the other side of 66th
I think
Street?
it's on the other side.
It needs it the whole length.
Yeah.
I know
I mean, they're terrible.
during pre-app meetings, they talked about possibly future coming down this way, but it's not.
Because we
there
talked
yet.
about when
Yeah.
Habitat was here, there were a couple of schools just north of there.
Correct, yep. Thank you.
All right, we're ready for the vote. Okay, unanimous decision. Thank you very much. And the final, and we appreciate the efforts that you're doing to create some affordable housing. Truly appreciate it.
Doing a great job.
Okay, agenda item 39.
Proposed resolution revising solid waste tipping fees for fiscal years 2020 through 2022. The public hearing was properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay, we have one card against, Mr. Vikram.
Services.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. My name is William Pickram. I reside at 90 South Highland Avenue in Tarpon Springs. However, I'm here today, or this evening, for my employer. I am the Division Director for Solid Waste and Recycling for the City of Dunedin. And I just wanted to give a few minutes of some background as to, how we as haulers, we're a private hauler, naturally, with the City of Dunedin. We collect the residents, 13,000 single-family homes, as well as about 2,000 nearby budding enclave residents who use our service as well. We're very similar to other city haulers, City of Largo, City of Clearwater. And I am the TMC representative for the City of Dunedin. I've been on the board for a number of years. I've been the TMC. I've been part of the subcommittee of the rate review that each year forms and organizes to review the work that the financial work that Paul Sacco and his staff and Terry Baveri with PRMG has been doing over the last few years. Dunedin, our position when the vote unfolded with the TMC was not in support of option A. You were given three options, and as we've been looking at this for a number of years, we can see without a doubt that the cliff, that there is going to be a revenue deficiency in year 2025 when the power purchase agreement ends. One of the, where our position that I felt that for the City of Dunedin would best be fit would be, we have a couple of things unfolding that we wanted to give a little bit more pause to. And two of them, one of them is particularly with the master plan that's unfolding, the solid waste, the Pinellas County Solid Waste Master Plan. We'd like to have seen that catch up a little bit to how this is unfolding for support for the rate increase to start this next fiscal year, October 1. And then the other part to that is to allow a little bit more time to defer, to allow some negotiations or some discussions with Duke Power to catch up as well, which is not municipal or how private or municipal stuff to get into with Paul and his team. However, we wanted to try and have that catch up as well. We just felt that the timing of that would give us a little bit more understanding of this tricky subject to understand for the first part. There's a lot of costs involved. There's a lot of that go out 80 years, and it's pretty complicated. And those were two things that we felt that would be served with the city of Dunedin. That's really where my position was when I voted against it. However, it voted through, it ran its course, and it passed 6-5, and naturally that's why we're here today. Again, thank you for the opportunity and the invite to come down and to just make those comments on where we're at with the city of Dunedin.
Well, we appreciate your being here. Do you think that the other city delegates that voted with you, did they state the same reasons? I'm just curious.
I can't speak for them.
Okay.
However, it was from the comments that I heard, they were similar. They were all over. They varied. Everyone has their different ends as to how they will perceive the increase. But for what I can say is the group understood. Again, this was a project that PRMG and Terry had been working on with Paul and his team for years. We see the need for a rate increase is coming. It was just how to defer to let those other two projects, those two other items come forward a little bit more. And by no means are we, or am I saying this evening that those two elements, those two initiatives are going to produce any effect on the rate. It's pretty tricky, and it's a lot of information to be had, and we just wanted to see if, give it a little bit more time for those reasons.
Thank you for being here.
Can I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you for being here, and I love your presentation style. So you understand the fiscal realities. You are willing to risk the increase being, the climb being more steep if we wait longer? Was that presented to you as a risk? If we wait another couple of years, then the increases might be more intensive each year.
That's
And
correct.
you balanced that and thought that was a good trade-off?
We do, and for the
Okay.
reason for this is that as I saw the work session that this body had last month, we had similar. We've had some other ones as well as the year before. And I felt that if the rate increase for the 1% difference that might happen if it were to be delayed another year still it could change. It could be less than 1%, it could be more than 1%, but what still could be discussed at the table with Duke is whether or not they would possibly want to stretch out the payment that they're obligated to year 2025. And that was kind of in my wheelhouse during discussions with Dunedin executive team.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Again, thank you for being here and representing your employer.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Bill.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I will close the public hearing.
Could we maybe just have staff comment, again, just comment on those observations and like the time frame for each of those initiatives that he talked about, what the time
Master
frame?
plan and then the
Yeah, the master plan and
negotiation.
negotiations, and what a one-year delay in an increase would do in terms of those two initiatives, but at the same time, what would it do if we delayed the rate 1 year? So just,
Good evening, Paul Sacco, Director of Solid Waste. So master plan, the timing, the recommendations would be coming forth. We're expecting them to be in the May-June timeframe. May-June this year. That would only be the recommendation portion. From that, we'd have to evaluate what those recommendations are, and if we saw value in that, then you'd be putting your review and your capital plans around that, which would push those projects out. I mean, it's a 30-year master plan. Some of these could be decades out before we would do those. So I don't believe that would have an impact on what we're talking about as far as the rate increase with the operating right now. On the Duke Energy Power Purchase Agreement, again, we're getting ready to meet with them formally in the first week of April. That'll be the first formal discussion that we have with them. As I mentioned to the board before, our ask going in is certainly less than what we have on the table now. Worst case is certainly less than what we're asking for. We're in between. Either one of those, we know will be somewhere in between when we negotiate. If we're successful even in getting what we're asking for at the full amount, it's still going to require some type of rate increase because it's going to be less than what you see with what's been presented in the past. Every year that we delay, what we've shown through the rate study is about 0.25 to 0.35% increase in that 6% for every year that we delay. But in addition, on the back end of that, if you remember, we're stocking money away for closure costs and things to run the facility at a 30-year end. The back end of that is going to fall shorter in addition to the rate being increased as we push the can down the road. So it's kind of being compressed on both sides. So that was what was presented to the TMC and the subcommittee, and they made their recommendation based on those three options. Option A being the 6%. There was one waiting till we dropped off the cliff, and then there was one until we actually dropped out of reserve monies where we ran out of money before we would make our increase. But they chose the option A, which is what's before you today.
Question?
Commissioner Welch and then Commissioner Akers.
Dave can go first because I'm going to change lanes.
So if we, I'm trying to get my thoughts back. Just left.
Well, I
So,
can jump in because
Yeah,
I
why
think
don't
we're on
you
the
jump
same
in
track.
and then, thank you,
Would
save
it be
me.
worth it, and we don't have to go into details, you got a 12-slide PowerPoint, and this is our only public hearing, right? This isn't a two-part.
Correct.
So could we just run through that quickly, because it talks about the three options, it talks about why we're here, and for folks that haven't seen our workshops, I think it'll probably be worth it if the commission concurs, just to go through that briefly.
And I remembered the question on the master plan itself. Could the results of that master plan show less capital requirements or more than what we currently have factored into the rate increase?
I don't believe it wouldn't be less because we haven't factored in any of our CIP dollars into that until we knew what the master plan would produce, so it would only be more.
So there could be another increase on top of the one we're doing now, based on additional capital that we're,
That's possible if we really want to engage in other large-scale capital projects, yes. I mean, if they get into things that we don't do today, like anaerobic digestion or buying property to do additional types of composting or whatnot, they're not baked in our capital plan right now. So that would either be done through a rate increase or bonding or
Paul, what is it baked into that capital right now? Is it just what we have now being
what we have
upgraded
now.
or improved?
correct.
Okay.
And the
So-
closure of the facility and whatnot. But that's all captured in the plan. When you see the slide, it'll have in there what is baked
So
into
the
that
additional
rate
capital
recommendation.
that we might have, you've put some of that capital in, but.
For what we own today.
Correct,
The
okay.
replacements, the repairs and whatnot, yes.
But additional features, if you will,
not
that's
in there.
not in there, won't be pointed out until we finish the plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a good idea, Commissioner Welch.
Thank you.
Want to run through the slides?
Yeah, because.
So with that, we have Terry Boveri from PRMG, who will run through your presentation that was previewed with you at the work session.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. I might need some technical assistance bringing it up because I'm not sure what it's titled. Thank you. For the record, again, my name is Terry Boveri. I represent PRMG, and here with me tonight, as well as Nick Smith, who's the lead analyst on the study. And thank you.
You're welcome.
And we gave a presentation, a public workshop back in late February, where we ran through a lot of these similar slides. I think there were some questions. We tried to address those and incorporate some more information. Additionally, we also provided, I think, the commission with the full report of the study. So hopefully that helped answer some of the other questions. But we're here tonight to answer any other questions that you may have. So I'll try to run through this sort of briefly, but the purpose and the scope is to develop a long-range financial model. And the approach or the methodology that we take is that every single year of the financial projections, we develop a forecast of the revenues and the expenditures, and we try to balance them, or we come up with a way with how we're going to balance them, either through the use of reserves or means of the rate adjustments. And we're going to talk a little bit about the breakdown of all the revenues and the expenditures in the financial plan. A little bit about the waste generation, the system operations process about 1.3 million tons per year for the county, of which about 1 million or so are inbound. And then that waste gets processed at the waste energy facility. It produces ash as a byproduct and some metals that you can see in this pie chart to the right. And those are actually end up being landfilled. So the operations primarily waste energy to landfill among household hazardous waste and some of the others, but these are the main, waste flow streams into the system. These impact our revenue generation, our expenditures, because they impact our contractual operations, which is our primary expenditure, which I'll talk about in just a second. This is a projection over a forecast period of the revenues, and this kind of highlights the issue, I think, that has been discussed at the prior workshop and alluded to with Mr. Sacco's comments, that these capacity payments are going to be coming down around 2025. They represent about over 50% of our revenues right now. So that's a significant revenue shortfall that's going to have to be made up for. The plan assumption is that we follow through with the existing purchase power agreement was how it was planned. The projection of revenue thereafter assumes some rate increases in them. What's being recommended by the TMC include about 6% rate adjustments over the next 2 years to be reevaluated annually. And built in there is about 6% a year all the way up until about 2044. That's why that bottom line green section, which represents the tip fee revenue, increases over the forecast period. As far as the expenditures go, most of our expenditures are going to be operating expenses, of which most of those are going to be contractual operations to pay for the waste energy facility operations and the landfill operations. Beyond that, we do have, and to answer Commissioner Egger's question, we do have some capital in there in the out years, as Mr. Sacco mentioned, for the replacement of these existing assets. That's the sort of light blue bar on top of the dark blue bar in each one of those years. And they're representing transfers to capital reinvestment, replacement, renewal of our existing infrastructure. And it was based on effectively depreciation. We escalated that slightly over the forecast period, about 1% to 2% a year. Beyond that, we have some purple there, which represents our closure deposits, which Mr. Sacco also mentioned. We're going to be setting aside for those funding requirements. This is a chart that kind of gives an idea of how over time we will fund the closure liability, a little bit at a time from those small incremental deposits we saw on the prior slide. And we end up getting not to the full liability of the long-term care bus closure, but most of it and all of the closure requirement. And I can go into any questions if you have about that. This chart and also slide talks a little bit about the capital needs of the system that were contemplated in the study, primarily R&R. The biggest factor is the TRP, or the Technical Recovery Program, which deals with renewal and replacement to your existing waste energy facility. Beyond that, we have not included anything from the master plan because it's still to be determined. But any sort of new operations or whatnot, that would be on top of any sort of recommendation that we've identified in this plan. Insofar as impacts to rates and potential impacts to the residents, if we make the assumption that a typical residential customer generates about 1 ton of garbage or municipal solid waste annually, they would see their annual disposal costs rise by about $2.25 based on the 6% increase. So I think a key takeaway to consider is that while at 6%, $225 for an entire year on a monthly basis, that's much less. The impact is fairly manageable, was the thought. And the increases are about the same each year. So there were 3 scenarios that were presented. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, on that feat right there, if you shifted that out 1 year to kind of come up with the same thing, but we delayed an increase, did you do, I'm sure you did some sensitivity analysis on that and how those rates would then be compared to what you have there? I mean, would it be, instead of 225 or 240, what would it be in year 2 and 255 if we just delay, everything else being the same, but just delayed it 1 year?
Yeah. I mean, I think what would happen is 220. If you delayed everything a year, everything would just shift over. But I think what Mr. Sacco was trying to explain is that over a very long period of time, with the closure, for example, you have time value of money, and so the accrual of funds. So little changes today have a huge bearing on the forecast, 20 years out or so. Very small changes. So incremental approach, I think, was the one that ultimately the TMC settled on. But maybe if I could just for a moment step to an FAQ slide, because the presentation is actually close to being done. Here's sort of a forecast over the forecast period drawn out of the rate increases among 3 different scenarios that we looked at and had presented to the TMC. And while it doesn't show you what it looks like if we shift it 1 year out, it does present kind of the ramp up in the rate increases that would be required under the 3 scenarios that were presented. In those scenarios, the first one being what's being recommended, scenario 1, which is small gradual increases over time. And then the last one, scenario 3, represents what happens if we delayed increasing to the absolute last moment of time that we could. We utilize all our reserves. What would the increases look like at that point? And so you can see very, very steep increases around the 2030 timeframe. So you do have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you're capable of doing, but I think what the TMC ultimately settled on was to do very small incremental adjustments, preferable to maybe deferring or delaying further. Okay. So I think that's everything I wanted to touch up on this slide, unless we had any other questions. Okay.
I'd like to get those fact slides. I don't think we have those.
I think we did.
Yeah.
We only go to 12.
Yeah.
I think the report might have some of that information, but irrespective, we'll get you whatever it is that we have in here. As far as the commercial impacts, I think that Commissioner Welch had brought this up at the last workshop, was asking about, inquiring about maybe what could potentially be the commercial impacts. And while we didn't go in, we don't have access to the billing data, in terms of the commercial customers throughout the county's municipalities. Staff worked up some general assumptions about what that might look like. And so the first one is if we were to have what we identify as a small business, the 2 cubic yard container maybe receives collection once a week, generates about a little under 4 tons a year in waste, what would their impact be? And unlike the prior slide, I just want to clarify this is on a monthly basis, the impacts. But 72 cents a month. And the other point I want to clarify too is that these all, again, represent a 6% increase to their estimated or assumed charges, cost, not charges, cost. The second one was industrial, so maybe someone with a business with a 6 cubic yard container, 3 times a week collection, about 35 tons a year, would see about $6.49. And a restaurant, dealing with a lot of waste, about 94 tons a year, around $17 a month increase. This is a chart that sort of brings home sort of the cash flow assumptions, both on the revenue and the expenditure side. So the bars represent the expenditures, and the mountain graphs in the back represent, our revenue stream. You can see that the capacity payments in the orange-yellow color, they go away, and so we have some shortfalls in those years from 2026 all the way up until 2038. And what we're doing here by doing these small incremental increases is once that capacity fee payments go away, we're trying to bring our revenues up slowly And the shortfall we're using our cash reserves to fund to help mitigate the impacts to the municipalities. But we do maintain healthy reserves throughout most of the earlier part of the forecast. So it's a very conservative fiscal plan and gives you the county a lot of flexibility, with how it handles the planning for the rates going forward. And again, just as a reminder, I think the recommendation is just for the 2 years through 2021 and 2020, 2021. Let me just go back here. Yeah, 2020, 21, and 22, excuse me. And we'd be looking at every year. So implementation would just be for 2020. Kind of lastly here is, how do we sort of compare? And comparisons can be a little bit misleading at times, so I'll try to, give some background on this. But it's very easy to see that, the county is on the low end of the spectrum, even without some of the background information. But waste-to-energy facilities, counties that operate waste-to-energy facilities tend to have, higher costs of operations. And so we've highlighted with some boxes around others that are waste energy. So at least on this comparison, you can see here, the county's the lowest in terms of waste energy and in that low end range, even with other just landfill operated. And part of that is because, we get a lot of revenue from the capacity payments that help keep our tip fees lower. Those that, others on here, I think there are just a few that actually receive capacity payments and nowhere near, to my understanding, what, Pinellas County receives. Which is why those others are on the higher end of the spectrum that have waste energy operations. I think that's probably one of the main factors. And then one other point of consideration is that, Pinellas County, the solid waste disposal system only receives really revenue from the tip fees, and some of these other municipalities do receive assessment revenue that can help offset the cost of the tip fee. So the comparison can be a little bit skewed and shows lower tip fees maybe than what the actual cost is that residents or businesses might be paying for disposal.
Just two quick questions. The revenue on obviously that capacity payment's a critical piece.
Mm-hmm.
The assumptions that we made going forward again for after 2024 are
That we would not expect to see any more capacity payments after that period of time, that we would continue to receive the payments, the high level of payments that are scheduled right now. It also assumes that we would be operating at the availability requirement to earn those payments as well.
Okay, and then the last thing, just real quickly, on back to page 2, maybe just a few minutes, if you could explain just kind of a 101 for folks that might be watching each of those items on each side of that balance fulcrum, what they actually are, so that folks understand what we're planning for. In all those numbers, in all those graphs that you just showed, there were different colors. Maybe you could just give a qualitative comment on each of those 3 items, on each side.
Sure. So on the one hand, we have our revenue sources, and this fund is operated as an enterprise fund, which means that all the revenues for the operations are derived from the tip fees of the system. So that's going to be a major revenue driver. Outside of that, we have other revenues because we have a waste-to-energy facility where we're taking the waste and we're processing and turning it into energy. We're selling that energy and we're getting some revenue for that. That's going to be in the other revenues component. But we're also getting the capacity payments, which we've talked a lot about during this presentation and how that's going away. So while the capacity payments go away, we're still going to get the electric revenue, but we're just not going to get the capacity payments. And that makes up really all of our revenues. But unfortunately, capacity payments, as I mentioned earlier, are over about 50% of our total revenues. So taking that out of the equation doesn't really stack up with all your expenditures on the other side, and at some point you're going to need to do something. And so we made these 3 scenario presentations, and ultimately the TMC recommended the phased approach. But insofar as the expenditures go, there's really not too many changes going on here. And I think, as Mr. Sacco mentioned also, depending on what would happen if, for example, the master plan comes out and you have a change in operations, new facilities coming on board. I think he mentioned the anaerobic digester. These would be additional operating costs as well as capital costs, which haven't yet been contemplated in the study. So that could weigh on your decision about this as well, because that would only add to what's been identified. Yes, sir. So the final yellow item represents closure. And I think I mentioned earlier in the presentation that, the chart to the right shows all the waste that we process. And about, all the municipal solid waste is processed through that waste energy, and it produces ash. Well, that ash is getting landfilled. Well, landfill has a certain finite amount of capacity, and landfills only generate revenue while they're open. And so what most practices is that you need to set aside money or at least have some financial assurance to be able to demonstrate that you can pay for the cost of closure and the 20 to 30 years of long-term care, well monitoring. God forbid, something happens, you need to have some reserves there to handle issues with the landfill. You need to build that liability up and those funds up. And so we're not setting aside all the money right away. We're doing it over a very long period of time.
But a key piece that we're actually responsible for, so.
It is, yep. And so that's why it's important to set aside and start building up those reserves for that liability.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Any comments? Okay. We did a very thorough job and appreciate you being here. At this point, if there's no other speakers from the public, which I don't believe there are, to address us, I will close the public hearing and seek a motion.
I'm assuming that, like anything else that we do, we're talking about a rate increase today that, there's those two things that Bill Pickram brought up that will unfold over the next year or two. And, maybe we get some pleasant surprises. These can always be readdressed at any time. So I think this is probably the prudent way to go, this smooth increase. And at the same time, if you translate that to a resident that's maybe getting another 20 cents, I think you said 20 cents per month increase, it's doable. I mean, any increases, you look at it and scrutinize it carefully, but I think it's a doable increase, and it's responsible, and I think it's gradual. And I think that's the thing we have to keep holding on to with maybe we'll get some surprises over the next couple, year or two. So we'll see. But I would certainly, I think, favor scenario 1 at this time, as recommended.
Okay, is that a motion?
Motion.
Okay.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Eggers and second by Commissioner Gerard. And I think Commissioner Eggers' comments are worthy. I think that we are being prudent, and we can always not do next year's or the following years, depending on how the negotiations go. This is certainly not sending a message out that we're going to roll over and just, increase fees because of our negotiation on the purchasing agreement. But certainly, we're just trying to, again, be
Watch out
prudent.
for our residents.
Yes. Okay. All right. Voting ballot, please. Approved unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 40.
Case number CP 040219, proposed ordinance amending the Pinellas County Comprehensive Plan, future land use and quality communities elements policies. The commercial, general, and residential office retail, future land use map categories and rules, and the capital improvement elements. Public hearing was properly advertised. Affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay, I think we do need a staff presentation on this and to see a map of what it might affect.
Good evening. I didn't think I would get out without a presentation on this. Renee Vincent, Planning Director for Pinellas County. And I'm going to kind of shift between the slides and the overhead as I go through to explain this set of amendments. So the ordinance before you is actually composed of several sets of amendments that are separate but related. The first is a set of amendments to the future land use map categories. We have about 30 different categories of land use categories in the comprehensive plan. So these amendments are, some of it is cleanup, Some of it is to move us closer to some of the standards of the countywide plan rules. The kind of the underlying principle for all of this is really to promote additional housing, affordable housing opportunities and economic development. So that's kind of the backbone of all these amendments, separate except for the capital improvements element. So we're also proposing some amendments to the policies in the comprehensive plan itself related to the ERCO site. So I will just go ahead and flip through this. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do it this way. So the first set of amendments, as I spoke about, to the future land use map categories, the major amendment is amending the residential, office, retail, and the commercial general future land use map categories that will increase the residential densities up to 24 units to the acre. This is consistent with the retail and services category under the countywide plan rules. It would also allow a floor area ratio of 0.55. And I'll talk more about the target employment center overlay on the future slide. This affects about 2,000 acres in the county, but it's primarily those that are located along our major corridors and thoroughfares where it is appropriate to channel additional density and intensities in support of affordable housing and economic development. Pete, if you could switch to the overhead. Yeah, can you see the map? Okay. So this may be a little bit hard to see because of the scale of the map, but the areas that are in red and this dark purple, these are the areas of the residential, office, retail, and future land use, commercial general future land use categories. Those are the properties where you would see that potential increase in density up to 24 units to the acre.
All along US 19.
Yeah, and big chunk here. And that's really where you're seeing a lot of stagnation. That was part of the retail market study that was on US 19 that was really, it's a bit of a depressed area. So, and the floor area here now is 0.30, so this would go up to 0.55. So again, we're trying to provide a little bit of additional incentive for redevelopment and reuse of these properties. Anything that's in any of this area that's surrounded by, within the green area, that's the coastal high hazard area, you will not see an increase in density in those areas. That will be capped at what it's existing policy constrained, so that we won't increase density there. Switching back to the presentation. We're also proposing to adopt, consistent with the countywide plan rules, the Target Employment Center Overlay District, and that has not been adopted by the county in the past. And again, if you can see the map, the light bluish green color is the unincorporated county. The hash pattern that you see is the existing Target Employment Center Overlay that's in the countywide plan rules. We are simply adopting that into our future land use map categories. And what that does is in those areas for development that is office, industrial office, or research and development type of uses, those target industries, it allows for a 50% increase, a 100% increase in the allowable floor area ratio. So that is a substantial increase. You can see the areas, up in north area, the Stauffer area, but you also have around the gateway areas where the majority of that property is located. So again, that would just bring us in line with the countywide plan rules. We're also talking about removing the 12.5 unit per acre. That's kind of an across-the-board density restriction that's been in place since really the early 90s as a result of the growth management laws at that point in time. It applies to our existing residential medium. We have residential medium and residential high categories in the future land use element, but it's really, you can't really take advantage of them because of this 12.5 unit per acre restriction. So by removing that, what it will allow, and again, looking at the map, if you can see this, these are the properties that are currently have a future land use of residential medium, so the tan colored properties are residential medium that would allow 15 units to the acre. And that language is already in the category restrictions. There's just another category restriction below that just caps everything at 12.5 units to the acre. And then we do have a smattering of residential high, which is 30 units per acre. And these were so small that I actually had to put call-outs to actually even be able to see where these are. And those are existing properties that were, were developed prior to these regulations. So by removing that, one, allows them to redevelop at those densities, and obviously it would also open up, for potential, if someone wants to try to, amend their existing parcel to a higher residential density, they can certainly ask for it, at least in this context, but obviously subject to approval. Some other changes that are being proposed. We're just adding, in all the future land use categories, for some reason, recreation open space is not listed as an actual permitted use or an allowable use, so we're just adding that. That's kind of a cleanup. Again, we have language in every future land use category at the bottom of the page, and it has a list of, these are your compatible zoning districts. So what that has done inadvertently is it's set up properties that are now non-conforming, because the rule is if you have a future land use category and then you have a zoning category that is not listed, they're disparate. Even if they're similar, even if they're actually compatible uses, you can't develop the property unless you go through and amend the zoning to something that's compatible. So this is not required by state statute. It's not required by the countywide plan rules. So we're simply proposing to remove those very prescriptive zoning compatibility listings in every future land use map category. And so what that actually will allow, some of those parcels, you might have a narrow band of uses where you can actually develop and not have to go through an expansive process to change a land use or a zoning. So it'll allow for at least some of those, correct some of those that you've actually seen coming before you. In the commercial neighborhood category, we've added manufacturing light as a secondary use. That really is a result of in our associated zoning districts that you'll find with the commercial neighborhood. You have like artisanal manufacturing, so artists like pottery or it's meant to address that type of use.
Okay.
We've removed employment in the employment district, which is our old light industrial. We've removed self-storage as an allowable use. This was at the request of our economic development department because those things are just chewing up our valuable industrial space. So we did remove those. Similar, we did that in industrial general as well.
Just real quick on the manufacturing light.
Yes.
So that, it really is that kind?
It's not in the future land use category, but in the zoning where that would even be allowed, it's restricted to like artisanal manufacturing. So it's in our new land development code. It's not something that you can actually access in a commercial neighborhood, because we've got a disparate. And then the Airco site. So as I spoke earlier, when the Airco site was changed from a golf course designation or open space designation back in 2010, yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Pete, can you show the what's on? Thank you. There we go.
Okay. In 2010, there was a series of policies that were put directly into the future land use element related to the future development of the Airco site. And at that point in time, so there's a table that restricts the actual allowable floor area for office and industrial uses. As I went back and researched all of that, those were really based on the old development of regional impact thresholds. So those don't exist anymore. So at the bottom, at the end of this, what we're trying to do is get the Airco site on similar footing with any other industrially zoned and land used property for the purposes of redevelopment. We're 10 years later almost, and nothing has happened on this site since this took place. We are adding a policy to protect the buffer parcel, which is this parcel here, that has also been called out in the new airport master plan. So this is specifically a policy that it can only be a buffer parcel in the future. For the commercial general, this 10-acre piece, there was a transportation management plan requirement prior to any development permits being issued on that. We're proposing to remove that. I mean, again, as a part of any normal site plan process, you're going to have to analyze your transportation impacts and present solutions for that. So having to have an advanced transportation management plan, again, is just another level of restriction that's impeding progress. And we're proposing to modify the master development plan requirements. Again, this is above and beyond what would normally be required for development, to that of a preliminary plan that would be reviewed by the Development Review Committee and approved by the county administrator. As it's currently set up, that master plan was a requirement to come before the Board of County Commissioners and be approved. Inherently, my staff and Economic Development and Airport have actually looked, and we've 6 ways to Sunday trying to figure out how do we do a master plan when we don't have any idea who the tenant's going to be and what the needs are. So it really has made it completely difficult to even meet that requirement. So those are the proposed changes regarding air. We're not proposing to change any land use or zoning or anything like that, just removing some of those policy restrictions that are in the future land use element.
Madam Chair, can you just talk a little bit about what's available and what's allowable in that red section that's at the southern end of the runway? To your left, yeah, all of that.
That's all commercial general, so hotels, retail, you can actually do manufacturing. It's a real broad mix of it's commercial essentially.
And that is the runway I'm seeing on the map, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It'd be low.
The last set of our amendments regards the capital improvements element. Again, this is somewhat of it was a fairly substantial set of amendments, so much that if I gave it to you and strike through underline, it would be about this thick. And so we presented it as just a straight document for your review. It does greatly simplify the element. It reflects current requirements of Florida statutes. It integrates our new capital improvements portfolio management process into our capital improvements element, and it allows us to reference our annual CIP process rather than having to adopt. Previously, we would have to amend the capital improvements element every year, and so this would allow us to just simply use our capital improvements plan through our budgeting process to satisfy that requirement. So with that was a lot. I hope I summarized it adequately for you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Akers?
Yeah, back on, just 2 questions real
Sure.
quick. Back on page, I guess it's page 2, when you talked about the 24 dwelling units per acre.
Yes, sir.
What is it currently?
In the commercial general, and I'll put that back up here, that map back up here for you. The commercial general, which is the red, it's a little hard to pick out, is currently, the description says 15. Again, it has a 12.5 unit per acre cap. And then the residential office retail is the same. It's essentially 12.5.
So we've always allowed that on there, it's just now we're giving it a little more density
Yes, sir.
option. And then back to that Airco property, maybe,
Yes.
and this is probably not for tonight, but just, it seems to me getting that property ready, what you're doing now is helping get the property ready. But
Yes,
there's
sir.
a lot more from a services standpoint.
Yes, sir.
So I assume, Barry, we're gonna have that continue having that conversation, because we don't know what's gonna go there, but we do know that they're gonna require sewer. So, and that's a
Yes.
lot of work getting that property ready for that. So if we're really gonna make this like something that somebody comes and asks and says, I think within a year I could be operational, or is it gonna be 4 years?
Exactly.
So I think we're gonna scare a lot of people away unless we're ready with some basic services to that area, so. But that's, I know, for a different conversation. Oh, I had.
The other last thing I do want to point out, just in full disclosure, we have not specifically met with the Feather Sound area about these particular policy changes. We're intending to piggyback, if you will, on the public outreach for the airport master plan when they go out with which is probably going to be in, I think we're looking at April. So the intent is to do that before we come back for second reading, which is hopefully targeted for May for us to come
May.
back. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm glad you said
Okay,
that.
because I was curious about that.
Yes.
All right. And I'm glad you're going to be meeting with the Feather Sound neighborhood. That's
Amen.
a good move. Any questions?
Good job.
Wow.
I'm amazed again at the amount of work that your department's doing these days. I mean, you always did a lot of work, but man, you ramped it up.
This is an important set of amendments. We're hoping to do more with the whole comprehensive plan amendment, update process, but this was an interim set that really needed to be brought forward.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. And this is the first public hearing. I don't believe that, I'll again offer, is there anybody else in the public who would like to comment on this?
Reform Act.
And we'll close the public hearing, and we'll look forward to this item coming back to us in May. And if there's nothing else to come before us this evening, we are
Storage
adjourned.
Relief Act.
No.
For further public input and to come back with a public hearing sometime in May of 2019. Okay. All right.
So storage reform.
We
Act.
actually need to vote.
Voting cards are open.
Oh, well,
Facilities
a
are
couple of
not
us have already closed.
Yeah, closed, so yes.
Yes.
And according to our legislative intent.
You want to just do this?
Yes. You're doing verbal. Are y'all yeses?
Yeah.
I voted on the board.
Not?
Jeez.
Okay.
Checked out
There we go.
early, but-
Thank you. So it's unanimously transmitted.
Not approved. Not yet.
All right. We're adjourned.